careful, Chief. That elite was an ultra.
Growing up, my father frequently warned me against the idea of education without learning. And certainly, this has been a great evil inflicted upon the people of the United States, where our youth are told to go to 25 years of school for seemingly no reason. Most of it is propaganda. The rest of it is snack time and movie time. And it's just ridiculous, okay? I'm very much pro-education. I think that you should be as educated as you can. Education is obviously good, but education without learning is demonic, or whatever you want to call it. It's big bad, and it is to be avoided. And this was instilled in me from a young age because my father would always have that classic conversation with me. What did you learn at school today? Nothing. What do you mean nothing? No, I mean we watched like Finding Nemo in Spanish with subtitles. Oh, so you watched it dubbed in Spanish with English subtitles? No. For Spanish class, we watched Finding Nemo in English with Spanish subtitles. Clearly we learned a lot. Wow, just great use of our tax dollars. I would like to design homeschool curriculum, or better yet, school curriculum for the Church of Zion, for BYU or something like that. But I think it can be really simple. You could probably accomplish everything that public school is doing in an hour or two, maybe less. Like, it doesn't have to be crazy. What do you need to know to be educated? You need to know how to read, you need to know how to write, and you need to know how to do math. That's basically it. And by math, I mean arithmetic. You don't need to know how to do real math. You should just do arithmetic drills, learn to read, practice writing, read a lot, write a lot, whatever you're excited about, and you're going to learn way more than you ever would by watching Finding Nemo with the substitute in there while your friend, he's not even really your friend, but he's sitting there next to you in class, and he's like one of those friends where you never hang out with him and you never spend time with him, ever. But if you don't have any other real friends in the class, then he's the guy you're going to talk to. That sort of friend, he's next to you, he's opened up the Spanish-English dictionary, and he's saying, chupar pelota, chupar bola, ha! And I'm like, what? No Nintendo. Absolutely silly. Why would we want to spend time in a room with people like that? True story, that guy murdered his wife later. So why should I, a normal person, be subjugated and forced to sit in a room and watch Finding Nemo with Spanish subtitles with a guy who's going to kill his wife in 4 years? That's crazy. Education without learning. Truly a very devious principle to be avoided at all costs. Do not waste your time learning stuff. Public school, probably a demon. Basically just free daycare, propaganda. It'll turn you into a little cog that will pay for all the wars and, that sort of stuff. So I don't like it. I had a lot of bad experiences with teachers, and yet I love learning. I really like learning. I like challenging myself, and somehow I hated every second of school. But I did have one teacher who really, really changed it for me, and it was in high school. It was in a physics class. It was AP Physics. I decided to challenge myself and take it. There were only like 9 people in the class. Everyone in the class wanted to be there. There was no chupar bola stuff. None of those kids have gone on to murder their wives or anything crazy or do drugs. They're all good kids who wanted to be there, who wanted to work hard, who wanted to challenge themselves. And then the teacher simply gave us challenges and gave us the tools to overcome them. And then she just left the room. She literally would just leave. And she said, you guys need to have this problem on the board solved by the time I get back. There's the book. And that was the most valuable experience of high school ever. This lady, at the time, it felt like she was an antagonist. In the dumb physics class, there's normal physics, there's like physics for people whose dads hit them, and then there's physics for people who like school. We were in the class for physics for people who like school and want to learn, and then there's normal physics, and then there's physics for people whose dads hit them. And in that class, this teacher was known for being, super silly, super whatever, very easygoing, and then suddenly she was like super mean. It's like, why is this lady so mean? I kind of hated her. I was kind of scared of her, but by the end of the year, I realized she is the greatest high school teacher I'd ever had. And she probably changed the course of my whole life as much as any high school teacher could. Because that was like my first genuinely good experience in school where I was actually excited to do the homework because it was really, really hard. You know, it wasn't, in hindsight, it's not that hard, but it's, you know, like college level math, college level physics math stuff, multiple step problems that you have to keep track of a lot of things, which I'd never ever felt challenged before doing that. Usually in school, it's like, hey, do this problem 100 times. The one that I just showed you, yeah, do it 100 times. And like, that's a good exercise or whatever. Like, I'm not against exercises, but everything about school is just so boring. It's not challenging. And if you take some high-level math classes, like foundations of analysis and stuff like that, it's really cool. And it's almost like an English class, and because it's about describing thought process, it's about really understanding stuff like, why is addition addition? You know, why is 2 plus 2 2? Let's prove it using sets, you know. Okay, let's derive addition from set theory. Stuff like that is actually very interesting. It sounds super smart, but I think a lot of people would be capable of understanding it. I think that too much of our school is just trying to train people to do calculus, and only really engineers need to do calculus. Most people are going to end up with BS jobs anyway that are just a drain on society's resources. So it doesn't even make sense to bother educating them to do calculus, because they're just going to be getting lattes and snacks and flat ironing their hair in the company bathroom and making TikToks or whatever. So it's just a big waste. So why are we talking about education without learning? Well, I'll tell you. And that is because the temple is supposed to be a place where we are instructed and where we learn. And yet, I think that the temple, in many ways, is guilty of becoming education without learning. No principle demonstrates this better than the idea of the true order of prayer, which is supposed to be, you know, really special. And we have the temple prayer roll and all these things surrounding the true order of prayer. And yet, the true order of prayer is a rote, almost recited, scripted prayer that, you know, is kind of frowned on in Mormonism. Not only that, I think it's a little weird that we would be instructed in a true order of prayer and never be expected to use it under any circumstances for any reason. And the way I understand it is that they used to have rooms in which you could go to in the temple and pray for this purpose, for using the true order of prayer. So if your family or maybe some friends had something very important, super important, perhaps, you know, a health problem in the family or some large crisis, you could go to the temple, you could do one of these prayer circles and worship in this way. And that was something that was available for everyone. And I've heard of accounts of pioneers even doing prayer circles, you know, over fields, over crops that are failing, that sort of thing. And I think this is really cool, but I don't think it's encouraged. I don't know if it's appropriate. Now, I have talked to fundamentalists, and they said, you know, I don't think this is encouraged or appropriate, but if you ever have a really big question, that's something that you could look into. And that's all they told me about it. But it's piqued my interest, as they say. I'm not exactly sure how to even go about doing it, and I'm a little afraid of doing it wrong, but something worth thinking about. All that education, no application. That doesn't seem like the God that I was raised with. He wants you to apply the principles that he teaches you. When he gives you a principle, he wants you to use it to enrich your life. That's what everything is for. You know, Sabbath is made for man. So my big question is that in the true order of prayer in the temple, the worker guy, he kneels at the altar and does some stuff. Let's say he holds his hands in a particular position. That makes me confused, because if I was going to say, do true order of prayer by myself in my house, let's say I dedicate one of my rooms temporarily to this purpose, what should I do? Like, I've got multiple options. Do I do the same? Should I do it different? Does it depend on what I'm praying about? Do you see what I'm saying? I feel like I've been schooled in like the dark arts of witchcraft and wizardry, and yet I still am not quite sure how to actually use it. Much like how many people learn calculus but never actually use it when they get to their jobs. They just sit in meetings with NASA and Raytheon and all these other companies who don't actually care about calculus, don't actually care about building things. They just care about stock prices and making sure the blood keeps flowing. Anyway, I hope that's something that can get you thinking, can encourage you to hit the books, learn more about that. You know, I've never applied this true order of prayer knowledge personally, and I'm a little fuzzy on the details of how I would go about doing that in a way that is appropriate, and I'm not even sure who to ask. But anyway, that's all for today. I've got to go. So, see you around.